Okay, so hi everyone and welcome to our Firesmart wrap up for the fall. This is going to be quite a short meeting, so if there is any questions later, please call any of us that are on the board. And so that's Rick, myself, Peter, and Neil, and we can answer your questions more in detail that way too. So we are ecstatic about all the work that's been done in the park and all the volunteer involvement. It's been amazing. Many faces that have become quite familiar during the past several months. I'm even starting to identify the different grunting that people do. I know who's grunting beside me, so it's hard work, and probably the average age is about 68. So. But anyways, there's been lots of laughs, lots of camaraderie, and I think people have really seen a big difference and have really felt good about what they've done. The parks, as they say, are looking great, so please walk through them and have a look and see what we've done, see what we've planted. If you want, take some gloves, pull some Daphne, but make sure you have gloves for Daphne. The maintenance will be on an ongoing effort and in all parks, just to stay on top of the invasives. And lots of those invasives actually were introduced by people like years and years and years ago, thinking it was okay. And it was the thinking it was okay then, just to put their garden refuse into the parks. So unfortunately, we're kind of dealing with some of that. So we would really, the Firesmart board would really like to thank Protection Island Lions, Diggs, and Pina, and also the Nanaimo City Parks, the arborist and parks manager, the Nanaimo City Fire Department, and Brad Wood was our liaison for that. And many, many thanks to Doug and Paul for letting us use his excavator, and Doug Vanderkerkhoff for packing the invasives into the bin. He did a great job with that. To Brenda and Jim for their many, many, many hours of working, and Jim for the use of his truck. That was great. To Jane and Barry, who the trailblazers, as Rick calls them, they are working at putting the wood chips into some of the park trails that the neighbors are okay with. So they'll be doing that for quite a few weeks. To Nancy Turner for all her guidance. Nancy just amazes me. She walks into the park and it's just like she sees everything through a different lens than we do, all the different trees and shrubs, and she can identify anything. It's pretty amazing, and she's been quite invaluable to us. And just to all the volunteers who came out to the Tuesday and Thursday work parties, the people, the neighbors around the parks have been really very positive about it and very helpful. And many of them have come to the Tuesday and Thursday sessions as well. Some stats Rick gave me, there was 30 different people who came out to the Tuesday and Thursday work parties. And there were 35 people in all who came out to the Elizabeth Park community work party. And that was really a continuation of all the years of cleaning up those parks of the invasive plants and garbage, and adding to the establishment and identification of inland park trails. And I know Veronica and Brenda Henderson have really worked on that over the years, so thank you. The work in Elizabeth Park is not done. The work parties will continue to pull invasive plants and dead materials. There will be a work party in Elizabeth Park every Tuesday, weather permitting, at 10 o'clock until mid-December. So if anybody is willing and able to come out, that would be great. In the spring, we are going to focus on households. I hope to have an event very similar to this last spring's Firesmart. And a portion of the spring work will also be the continuation of restorative work in Elizabeth Park, including the planting of native ground cover and shrubs. So Emily, if you want to put up some of the pictures now, that would be great. So that is Jim's truck with a trailer. And that was the load that ended up down at the dog park. That was just part of it. That was a lot of invasives. That's one of the Elizabeth Park before we started to really get into clear the ivy. We've had a few children come out, so that's great. They can see what's been planted, watch it grow over the years. There's the group down at Elizabeth Park again, pulling all the stuff out of the park. We found a few things. We found an old gas can. And again, that's the group, the work party. The ivy has just been incredible. It is so thick and just really choking out a lot of the trees. It seems to really like the Gary oak, which is too bad. That's just one small stem. I think that was one of the last work parties in Elizabeth Park. Frank Ney, Sherry. That was a lot of ivy they pulled out that day from that park. That was mainly ivy there. And a red currant planted in the Salal. And again, a couple of kids have come out. I think they've really enjoyed themselves. It's pretty amazing how the sun has been able to come through in Elizabeth Park too, which will allow so many more plants to grow. And Krista very kindly made signs for us. That was the big work party. That was when we had about 35 people. There's Frank. Hidden Treasure didn't have as many invasives. There's the new trail sign. So that's my grandson. We've been able to plant quite a few things in there. There's Marilyn Compton, myself. That's Doug Compton and Dave Weber, I think, helping out. And again, the pile of invasives has just been amazing what we can take out in about an hour and a half. There's two instigators, Rick and Nancy. Oh, this is a good one of them. That's Barry and Jane, and they're the ones doing the chips, as you can see here on the trails. Just to really identify the trails so that people are walking in the middle of the park. Well, hello. The one thing I should say is that the chip quality, the wood chip quality was down from previous years. And Rick was saying this is partially due to the amount of dead dry material that was chipped and causing larger chips, and that we will be addressing this. So this might be a good time for me to turn it over to Rick, who will talk to you more about the parks and what specifically has happened in the parks.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Thanks, Wendy. That was good. Yeah, so Wendy's giving you a bit of an overview. So I'm just going to talk about the two parks specifically that that we did work in. Our group in the spring went through an evaluation of which parks we should do. We kind of chose two parks for different reasons. Maybe if you could just flip up that first location map, Emily, that would be great. And basically, Hidden Treasure Park, the area that we did was from Trillium Trail west. And that, there's that child again. So yeah, so Hidden Treasure, basically from Trillium Trail West behind Larry and Carol's, Nora and Peter's house and Barb's in that general area. That was more of a restoration project. There's been a lot of trees taken out because they've died over the years. So it was getting really open in there. It's getting quite heavily invaded by holly, which is a real nasty beast when it comes to Firesmart. So the objective there was to restore the site. And then the other one was Elizabeth Park, which we've talked quite a bit about. It was a real combination of Firesmart things and other, pulling invasives and cleaning up the park. There was a lot of material in there. So they were quite different parks, but and quite different objectives. So we wrote up a prescription for both parks. We ran that by the various groups on the island. We had a panel of experts, Nancy included, who evaluated the prescriptions, gave us some comments. And then most importantly, I think, was to meet with the neighbors and walk through the parks, get their feedback and adjusted the prescriptions. And I think we've been really good at following the prescriptions that we laid out very closely. So I think we've really met our objectives. So the next slide is the prescription for Hidden Treasure. So we basically, you can go to the next one if you want, Emily. So we basically had split it into Firesmart work and other work as well. So we wanted to do a little bit of limbing, get that holly out of there, and then any material, pull it to the sides to be chipped. And then we also wanted to deal with the invasive plants, and you can keep going there. And so we originally, the original plan was to purchase 25 native shrubs, which we did. The city parks were fantastic. We purchased those and they covered the costs of all those. Plus they have been donating plants to us like crazy. I think they've donated, I would say, easily hundreds of plants. They've donated rose, salal, red alder, that kind of stuff. So we not only planted the 25 shrubs, but we also, everybody was so excited about what was going on there that a lot of the neighbors donated some money, and we made another run to get more plants. And then also the city donated more plants again. So easily we have hundreds of new plants growing in Hidden Treasure Park, and the overflow from that we planted in Elizabeth Park. So just give you just a bit of an idea of what we planted in there. For ground cover, we planted salal, Oregon grapes, sword fern, shrub layer. We planted evergreen huckleberries, currants, Pacific crabapple, Saskatoons, elderberries, wood rose. We planted a few deciduous trees, red alder and Pacific dogwood are the main two species we planted. And then we also planted a few evergreens as well, native evergreens. So there's three types. We planted some shore pine. On the coast it's called shore pine, interior is called lodgepole pine. So we planted some of those. We planted some very nice white pine, western white pine. And then we've also planted 4 western yew as well. So they should do really well on that site. And it's going to be awesome. So if we can just kind of run through the pictures here, Emily, that would be great. So we started by just pulling all of the invasives out, identifying. Nancy, like Wendy said, Nancy was fantastic in identifying to people, having a little mini seminar each time about what was invasive, what wasn't. So we, everybody tries hard. We did pull the odd native plant by mistake, but overall, I think we did a really good job of keeping the native plants where they're supposed to be and pulling the invasives. You can just keep scrolling through these if you want. So we planted all. This is a I don't know what that is, Saskatoon maybe, and caged them all. Anything that the deer were going to eat, we put a cage around. And the next one is also some more planting, and so it was quite a large undertaking. Peter Rombaugh made up all the cages, and they were each work party. We had enough cages ready to to plant that week and stuff. And the neighbors were awesome. This is an evergreen huckleberry that's, we weren't sure if the deer were going to eat those or not, so we figured we better put a cage around it as well. And then the last picture is of a western white pine, and they're really nice big stalks, so they should jump up above any brush cover really quickly and grow quite quickly in there and fill in some gaps. Because it's so open in there, neighbors are looking at neighbors and stuff. So not only are we kind of making the park more resilient, but we're also providing everybody a little bit of cover. And then the trail was located in the middle of the park, so it'll provide some buffer between people walking on the trail and the neighbors. So that was Hidden Treasure, and I would say that portion is pretty much done. So Elizabeth, oh yeah, we can. You're right, Emily. Yeah, let's go to the next one there. So Elizabeth Park was a little more complex because it's even though it's just over an acre, there's two distinct zones there. So we can go to the next one here, and so basically the same objectives, except under the Douglas fir area, we wanted to get rid of all the Daphne. There's a bit of holly and some hawthorn. We wanted to save the Oregon grape because it seemed to be competing with the Daphne reasonably well. And we wanted to get rid of all the garbage and stuff that was in there. And then the second treatment unit was basically, we thought it was heavy ocean spray with just a few, I put the odd Gary Oak in there, but as we opened it up, there's actually about a dozen quite large Gary Oaks in there. So we, like Jean said, we let them breathe once we got some of that ivy off of them there. And and then there is a trail. So we've reestablished the trail through the same thing through the middle of the park, put up some trailhead signs, and talked to most of the neighbors now, and everybody seems to want to put some chips down there. So we'll kind of work through that process and see if we can, if there's any chips left to chip that trail as well. So the before and after pictures of this park are quite, so anyway, the one thing, just if you just go back 1 second there, Emily, that when we, the original prescription was to meet Firesmart objectives, we wanted to limb the trees. It was mostly dead branches, but to 2 meters. But after a conversation with the neighbors, they said, well, if the branches are dead, if you can go higher, that would be awesome, which is what we did there. So just to get rid of some of the dead branches out of the site. And so we've done that. Okay, you can go to the next one now. And then we have planted the overflow in of what we bought for Hidden Treasure under the Oregon grape. There's kind of 2 schools of thought, whether you plant right away or whether you wait a couple of years and plant. And since the plants that we're planting are so big, we thought we can establish them and work around them as we're pulling ivy and everything else. They're pretty obvious. So we thought it'd be better to just get some plants in there and get them established so they can compete with the Daphne and the ivy best they can. And like I said, we've reestablished the trail, so we can go to the pictures here now. So I think, yeah, we'll just skip through this one and that one. So this is the trail coming in. This is what it looked like before. This is one of the heavier Daphne areas, and then the next slide shows after the crew was grinding away at it. So we've basically, that entire area was Daphne. So now we want to get in there and plant some Oregon grapes and some Saskatoons and that kind of stuff, and get some native ground cover. I think the next slide is what under the Douglas fir, what it was looking like. You can see the heavy. There is the odd. You can sort of see the odd ocean spray, but really lots of limbs and lots of Daphne. So the next slide shows what it looked like after we had done our limbing and our Daphne pulling. And so the ocean spray is all still intact. Daphne has been removed, and we've been pulling it out by the roots. So kudos to everyone. That's a huge job. We some of them were hard to tackle, so we had a couple of weed wrenches that we pulled them out with. But yeah, it's a big job, and there's still a bit more Daphne to do, but we've really made a big dent. The next one is some more of under the Douglas fir, what it looks like before, and then the next one shows, a couple next slides show what it looks like afterwards. So really gotten rid of the hawthorn and the daphne there, and the next one is similar as well. So this is where the trail is kind of, we've moved it to the middle of the park so that it's kind of equidistant between the neighbors and stuff. So so then we go to the ocean spray area next. So this is what the ocean spray area looked like beforehand. I mean, you could barely see up through it. It was covered in ivy, quite a bit of daphne underneath, and so this is what it looks like after. Oh, sorry, there's one more before. Yeah, so there's two befores. This is where the trail is, and how thick it was, and all the daphne that's along the trail. So tons of work was done in here. So next ones show what it looks like afterwards. There's the trail now, and it's cleaned out. And some of the hawthorn was too big to pull out by its roots. So what we tried to do was prune them so that they become a tree. The hawthorn over time, it'll bend over and then it starts suckering up. So it becomes this gigantic plant. So we're trying to keep it to a single stem, because if you cut it at the base, then next year you're going to have 20 different hawthorns kind of suckering up from there. So yeah, so that was kind of what we've done. And so from this point back is where we're going to, we've planted all through here. And so there's a little chunk up against Mike and Suzanne's property that we still need to do, and we still need to pull a lot of ivy as well. So we're well on our way, but I think if we can keep people coming out and we don't wear everybody out, I think we're going to be good there. So that is my talk, and I'm going to turn it over to Neil for the exciting draw. Oh, sorry, one more thing before I turn it to Neil. This is one of the pieces of ivy that came off of that tree that Veronica was sawing. She actually had to use her saw. I mean, they were just gigantic, and there was like 4 or 5 per tree. Like, it was just humongous, the amount. So we could use this as a raffle prize, but I think Jean would like it. Jean Compton, she wants to try and make something out of it, some buttons or something. So, and that's it. Over to you, Neil. You're muted. Yeah, Neil, you're muted. Okay, there you go.
I'm on?
You're on. You're in. You're good.
Okay. Well, Wendy and Rick have pretty well covered our adventures for the fall. And I've just been trying to keep track of people doing work. I would like to really congratulate the community for getting behind this. It's making a huge difference, and not just in the parks, but walking around the island before the chipper got here, there were large piles. It's just amazing what comes off the park and off people's lots. In terms of this year, it's been a huge success. I spent some time this afternoon going over the records that I have, and I came up with community hours, 2,188 hours as of today, in terms of fire smarting and work in the parks, and yeah, it's for a community this size, I think that's very impressive. So we didn't get we had 2 runs of people getting WASP sprinkler kits, one in June, and I think one that came somewhat later because people missed out on the first batch. So that brought us in close to 60 sprinkler kits on the island, and we're now ready to add another 2 to 2 lucky people who submitted their hours to me, and I made up a tag, and currently sitting at Emily's, and Emily's kids are just ready to dive in there, pull something up.
Okay.
Go ahead, Emily.
All right,
Thank you.
kiddos. Good job to stop the cancel spotlight video. All right, I'm not sure if you can see us or not. But anyway, Renee, you do the first one. Close your eyes, stick your hand in. You've got one. So the first one is Rudy.
Oh, geez. There we go.
I'm
There
gonna.
it is.
Rudy. All right, Wendy,
That's
close-
Rudy. Rudy, you won.
Close your eyes.
That's what you get for being a spectator, you see?
All right, and the next one is Jean Compton.
Oh, that's great.
So I'm gonna toot Rudy's horn, because even though he didn't join in the community things, he's been working his butt off cleaning that lot beside us where the owners decided to take down several dangerous trees. So, and he's been cleaning it all up and put all kinds of stuff out that the chipper came along. So I'm tooting his horn. So that's great.
Congratulations.
There's your reward.
That's
I
awesome.
think I got something like 50 hours from Rudy.
And I think he did a whole lot more, and he's still at it.
Yeah, excellent. You
Great.
got to keep them busy.
Encourage people to keep
Yeah.
putting in hours.
Okay,
And,
well, I think we're done. So
Yes.
thanks
Thank
everyone.
you.
We'll stay in we'll
Could
touch
I just have to,
for the spring.
just one,
Oh,
one,
Neil's got one more thing.
Rick? Yeah, just one more thing. Yeah, it's November, but we still are planning to continue working in through December. And I will continue to accept, hours from people. Our year will run from January to the end of December. So maybe we can maybe hit something like, I don't know, 2,500 hours.
Mhm.
The next, we're only a couple of hundred hours short from that. So,
Yeah, that's good. That's a good
Yeah.
objective.
and of course, all those hours count towards any kind of funding we get through the Nanaimo Fire Rescue in terms of getting bins here and more WASP sprinkler kit donations and those sorts of things. So
Yeah.
go at it.
So many thanks to all of you guys for all the work you've done. It's fantastic. I'm gonna have to go up and look at that Elizabeth Park. I've never been there.
It was
Quite
amazing
different now. Yeah.
when we were cleaning that park. There's people that have lived around that area for 20, 30 years, and we're dragging stuff out to the road, and they kept asking where it was all coming from. They had no idea there was even a park in there. So
Right.
yeah. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. We'll
Thank you, everybody.
look for some notices over the winter, and we'll get ready for the spring here.
And like I said before, if anybody has any questions, just contact Rick or Neil or Peter or myself. That would be great.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey, good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.